Okay, welcome to Sound Fundamental. We got another lesson here. We're going to be talking about inversions on the piano. Something that's actually really important, just so that it sounds smooth and so you're not jumping all over the keyboard, right? You want less amount of movement as possible for sound and for ease, right? So now the last lesson that you went through might have been the triads. So again, I'm assuming that you've got knowledge of the triads, and if you don't, there's a lesson, a video lesson on the triads, as well as an article on there that you can look at. So triads, again, being chords, right? So again, in that one that we were changing the chords, we had C, F, and G, right? You see that change from the C to the F is a pretty big jump. So it sounds like a very big jump, as well as it actually is physically a little bit of a jump. So what we want to do is find a different way of playing, say, the F major that makes it closer to the C. Okay, let me explain. If we just take like a C major chord, and we start on the C, it's called root position, right? Remember I was talking about the root, the one that you're playing in the left hand, right, is going to be the root. So if I play the C major chord, like this, it's the root position. Now, if we take an analysis of that chord, and we look at it, we have a C, an E, and a G. So, what you want to do is, if we want to start reshaping this chord, what we do is we take one note and move it somewhere else, right? If I played C, E, and G on the keyboard, anywhere, it's a C major chord. If I played a C here, an E here, and a G here, that's a C major chord. You wouldn't want to play it like that, but it still is. So the C major chord isn't just that shape, it's the fact that we're playing those three notes. So, again, like I was saying, if we start moving around one note, what's going to happen is, and move it to another version of it, another octave, it's still a C major. So if we take this C, remember C, E, G, and we take the C here and move it up the octave, you see we still have a C major, we still have C, E, and G. So if we play that, do you see we have a different looking shape here? We have, again, they're not a third apart like the last chord is. We have E, G, and C. But that still is a C major. Now, so again, if we want another variation of that, what we've got is we take this E and move it up here. And you see it still sort of sounds the same. Now, if I take this G and move it up here, voila, back to the first one, right? So again, we have three different patterns, and then it's just going to keep repeating on the piano. We can do it all the way up, right? So those are all C majors. So again, if you're starting on the root, which is the C, we have root position. Now if we start again on the third note, which is the E, you see, by starting on, I mean it's the lowest, right? It's the lowest one. If we do this, this is now called first inversion. Okay, if we're starting on the fifth now, which is, remember, the G, and we're moving this up here, we're now in second inversion. Okay, a little tough to understand at first. And then, of course, when we get up to the next one, we're back to root position. So let's try doing a little exercise to be able to play some of these triads. So again, the C major, C, E, and G. So let's first play them solid chords, right? Okay, remember the next one now is going to be E, G, C. And then now the next one after that is going to be G, C, and E. And then back to C, E, and G. So again, what we're going to be doing is just doing them all solid. We're going to go all the way up and then down. So first we have the root, first inversion, second inversion, then back to the root. Then we go back down to the second inversion, first inversion, and then root position. Now we could do that in the left hand too. So if we start root position, and then now we're going to go to first inversion, second inversion, root, back down to second, then first, and then root. So that's just for the C major, of course, right? But you should be able to do that with all the chords. If we just take another one, let's try a minor chord now instead. We'll try one actually maybe in the key of A. Okay, so if we start on the A, right? So we're starting on the A. We have A, C, and E. So again, if I move that A up to the octave, then now I'm going to have C, E, and A. And then if I move the C up, now I have E, A, and C. And then back to the root. So again, we had root position, first inversion, second inversion, back to root. Back down to second, first, root position. Now, so now we've practiced them all solid, right? But let's maybe try practicing them broken up, because that's going to happen a lot in songs and it makes it a little bit more difficult, okay? So again, if we take that root position and we arpeggiate it, remember that means playing them separately, we're going to have root, third, fifth. Now what you want to do is start on the first position, the first inversion, which is going to end up being C, E, and A. And then now we want to go to the second inversion, so we're going to have E, A, and C. And of course, if we keep going, then we're going to have A, C, and E. So if I try that again. And then we can go back from the top and go backwards. So that's a very good exercise because it really gets you visually to be able to see where it is, and it's just a little bit more difficult, so it'll test you a little bit more. Now if I do the left hand, I'm going to do the same thing. A first, so root position, then now we have first inversion, and then second inversion, and then back to root, and then back down. So again, I've only given you two options, or two choices here, which was C and A, right? C major, A minor. But you should be able to do them on all the chords. It's a good way of practicing the chords as well as this exercise and inversions, right? Now, if I explain, now I think what we'll do is we'll explain how you can sort of incorporate that into the songs that you're playing, right? So say we take that same chord progression we did in the last lesson, right? So remember we have C, F, and G. Now remember I was explaining that F is a pretty big jump, C to F. So why don't we find out how we could play that F to make it a little bit easier so that it's really close to the C. So what you do, and you get quicker once you start doing it more, but what you need to do is you think, okay, well, what notes is there any common notes in both of them, right? So we have C, E, and G, and then we're going to have F, A, and C. So the C actually stays the same, so you can actually keep your finger on the C, right? So again, if we're on C, E, and G for the C major, and then we're going to go to F major, remember it's F, A, and C, so we're going to keep our thumb on the C. Now we need to find out what we're missing. So if it's F, A, and C, and we've got our finger on the C, we're missing F and A. And you see here, all we have to do to get that is move our fingers up, our third and our fifth from the C major, up one key. So you see now we've got from the C major to a smooth F major. And what we've got there, so again, it sounds smoother as well as it's a little bit easier for you. So we've got C major, which is in root position, and then we've got F major, which is in the second inversion, right? So now, if I incorporate that into the chord progression like we were doing before, remember we have C and then F. Let's just go to there. So 4 beats, we're going to do them solid, and then with just the root and the bass. Okay? So it's C major, and then we're going to change to the F, but the inverted chord. Now the next chord we were saying was going to be the G major, right? So if I go from the F to the G, you see it's a big jump and it's a little sloppy, right? It just doesn't sound very clean, the change. So what we want to do is we want to find out how we can get there, the closest fingering. So we've got G, B, and D for a G major. So there's a D right here, and there's a G right here, and there's a B right here. So again, at first it's going to take a while to try to figure that out, but eventually you're going to get a lot quicker at it, and you'll be able to see them right away. So now we've got a C major, and we've got an F major second inversion, and then a G major second inversion, and then back to a C major. So if we play around with that with the roots in the left hand, and we're going to play the octave 4 times with the right hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4. F major, then we're going to go to the G major, the inverted one, back to C. So what you want to maybe do is you want to practice that. You want to practice the remember what we were doing with the inversions in the beginning, where you practice them all together. As well as, you remember last lesson I was saying, well, why don't you just sort of experiment and make up some chords, some chord progressions on your own? And what you could do now, instead of just playing them all root position, find out the cleanest way of going from chord to chord. So you'll find that, again, that so many songs actually have these kind of chords, the inverted ones. So definitely get those down under your belt, and then you're ready to go. So good luck.